What's going on to Internet? Selfish here with Retrospect. Today we're going to take another look at the Miyoo A30. And I had to get a new one because we are going to try a new operating system called Spruce OS that is supposed to make this device look, feel, and operate the way that it was supposed to on day one. What we were expecting at launch. But does it live up to the hype? We're going to find out. Let's take a look. Now, this isn't the first A30 that we've had here on the channel, but it is the first black one, and man, do I like that color. I really did kind of like that grayish silver color, but this black looks really sleek, and this is what I actually initially tried to order, but it was sold out. Lucky for me, a new operating system called Spruce came out, and that gave me an opportunity to feel obligated to order another one so that I could get that experience that I thought I was going to have when I first opened up an A30. The A30 has been my preferable out of the mini handhelds right now. As far as the micro goes, I'm kind of still at a toss-up between the GDK Pixel and the Trim UI Smart. Those micros, they're both really solid handhelds, but as far as the mini handhelds go, I am really just a fan of all of them, but the A30 is what I have been using. And for the last 2 weeks, I have been testing Spruce OS. Yes, I have opened this device before. I just wanted to give you the full unboxing experience. Oddly though, I did initially clone this card from my original A30, even though that's not running Spruce, well it is now, but it wasn't running Spruce at the time. So I still have all of the games and things that came from Miyoo. So some of the ROMs may be a little broken as we go through here. I'm not actually going to go through and talk a whole lot about it. We're just going to look at some of the upgrades, so to speak, that kind of came with this Spruce OS update. But I'm just going to talk to you about what they have fixed on Spruce OS to make this so much better. Should we put their actual background on here too, just so it looks like theirs? Watch it not change. There has been an issue with themes not changing. Let's see if it's Spruce will go back to Spruce. There she is. Look at the little pine tree. Ain't that cute? And actually, it's very simple. It kind of looks a little MiyooI-ish, but it doesn't operate MiyooI-ish, so that's kind of nice. But what they've done is, with all emulators on here and cores, they've configured them with performance, so they've fixed some of the under and overclocking issues, as well as got rid of some of those shaders and filters that were on there, causing all kinds of rigmarole to happen when you're trying to play a device. So that includes performance and overclock adjustments. You shouldn't have to change the CPU anymore when you're using this handheld. It should already be set for whatever emulator it is that you are in. There's been a few visual changes, including the themes, obviously, which I just showed you. The in-game menus now match themes, so depending on what you're in, it'll actually match the theme. It won't be some random menu that was out there, which would only happen sometimes on the original OS, but it did happen from time to time. There is now a folder for box art, so if you do have games that you have box art on, I'm not sure if I have box art on any of these. Oh, I do. So you can actually separate them or scroll them through on box art. I couldn't remember if I downloaded it or not, so a lot of them I have box art for. So now you do have a separate folder to put that in, so it's a little bit easier for everything to kind of come together. There is a BIOS folder now within RetroArch, which will help fix some of those BIOS issues that we were having before, where it was unable to read BIOS. Biggest thing on here is if you want your Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, and Game Boy Color to pop up with the Nintendo load screens, things like that, that's going to be an important BIOS. Also, if you want Neo Geo, you got to make sure that you have those BIOS script folders within the correct folders, and some others, but those are the main ones that we see most of the time. There's now auto load and save states on here, which who knows why Miyoo didn't put that on there to begin with. A lot of the files have been reprogrammed to use stick functionality with the joystick on here, which most things didn't use the joystick before, so even though Miyoo put it on here, it almost made it pointless. Now, oddly enough, you still cannot use it within the menu system, so I'm not sure why that is. I don't know why nobody's figured that one out yet, but so far you still cannot use it within the menu. It could be an SoC issue too, I'm not really sure. And they did reconfigure all of RetroArch, so there is no longer notifications or hotkeys. If you want any of that stuff, you're going to have to go within RetroArch in order to do that. I do have a couple of guides on RetroArch, one on my website. I can't remember if my video's up for it anymore, but if not, I do have a RetroArch guide on retrospect.gg. You can go there, check that out. I'm actually going to be updating that here shortly. There have been a lot of changes, so I may pull it down temporarily and then relaunch it just because there's been a lot of changes to RetroArch since I wrote that guide. And then they also did disable the LED, so the LED is not always on. There are a few other tweaks and things like that, but for the most part, these are going to be the big heavy hitters that you are going to run into when you're on here. There's some huge performance differences though on games. That doesn't mean that maybe the most crazy systems are going to play on here, but you don't have to make a lot of tweaks. Like I said, everything is made for performance now. And I'll give you the example because everybody wanted to check out this game when this device came out, to show that it could not play Super Mario Yoshi's Island, and we're just going to go right into it here for you. And I'm going to show you exactly how it plays on here now with making no changes on my part, no deleting any overlays or anything like that. Some of the things that I have done is I've gone back and I've turned on FPS counters and things like that on some of these. Oop, can you get that guy? No, I don't think you can. I've never actually, I've had this goal of actually playing this game now after everything, and I still, this is the furthest I've made it. So this is playing off my save file from my other A30. Oh no! I think I just died. Well, anyways, it does play solid at 60 FPS. It's pretty much locked in there. No problems. The device doesn't get so hot anymore either, which is just insane because before everything was overclocking. So the device was getting so warm before that it's just not an issue anymore. It does get a little warm, but not in comparison to what it was. In fact, I'd argue that in most cases, it's actually cooler running now than the 28xx by Anbernic. Now here we're running Capcom vs. SNK, and this is on Dreamcast. So as you can see, we're getting some pretty good performance here. It locks in at 28 FPS for some reason. I'm not sure why, but you can't tell. It feels great. I mean, other than the fact that I'm getting my butt kicked. But this just gives you a little feel for what she's got going for her now. I'm out! And here we got some crazy taxi going on. And the controls, the gas, and the brake pedal are actually on the right side. Now this usually runs between 20 and 24 FPS for some reason, but it feels pretty darn good. I'm not sure why it feels like it's running so well with the FPS being down, but you know what? I got no complaints about that. Because it feels good. It doesn't feel all jacked up like it did on the other one. So also, it just doesn't look like it's like got a weird sharpening thing going on that was going on before. And here we got some Mario Kart 64 going. Again, the joysticks and everything work great. One thing that's really interesting now is that if you try to use the D-pad, we don't have a D-pad. So again, they set up everything so it's supposed to be the way that it's supposed to be. But yeah, now for some reason the D-pad doesn't want to work. Ooh, my light's flickering. That is pretty cool. I like that. Yeehaw! But yep, Mario Kart plays like Mario Kart, so that's pretty dope. We got some Bloody Roar 2 going here on PS1, and I'd say it's pretty playable. It doesn't completely stay up, but once you let it sit for a little bit, or once you play a little bit, it will actually... Wow, I'm getting my butt kicked. It will actually kind of compile all those shaders and everything will be fine. But even before that happens, she runs about 50 to 54 FPS. You don't really feel it bouncing because it is one of those games where everything kind of moves around. But I'd say that pretty much hits our major systems, getting kind of everything tweaked out and fixed. Now, they did add a plethora of systems you can play on here. So you had about a dozen systems or so, maybe a few more that you could play before. I guess probably about 15 or so that you could play before. And now the list is pretty long. I'll put it up here on the screen for you, just so you can get an idea of what is available to play on here. Don't get this if you're trying to play like Dreamcast or N64. Maybe N64 would be fine, but it's really not made for that. This is a retro emulator, and it is really a lot built around the same thing that you'd have the original MiyooMini for. Now, this does have sticks, or a stick, which makes it much more appealing and makes more sense to be able to play some of these higher end systems. I just wouldn't go for the heaviest games on there. Unless you're going to be doing some testing. There's really not a reason probably to hit some of those, so now we're already kind of getting our FPS is going back up because now it's starting to cache everything out. So I'd probably maybe stick around away from some of the heaviest systems. I've had some pretty good luck on here with Sega CD, obviously Genesis, Neo Geo does really well on here. So, I mean, you're going to have a lot of good stuff. Before I finish up here, I did just want to go over, because I kind of didn't do it at the beginning, but a couple of the other changes that are in here. Obviously, we decided to change the theme, so that's like that. Now, this device does have Wi-Fi and all that kind of stuff, but you do, in your apps menu, actually have apps now. And this will give you the availability to do your USB transfers, your file management. You also have Pico 8, and you can run Pico 8. You just have to use the Raspberry Pi build. You do have access to RetroArch right from here. Now, unless you know how to use RetroArch, maybe stay away from it if you're new to the hobby. But if you've been around the hobby for a while, you're comfortable with RetroArch, go in there, make the changes you're comfortable with. But again, with Spruce, most things are going to be set up the way that you want them to be. This is a pretty experienced group of people that contributed to this build. So emulation is, for the most part, pretty much just set and you don't need to touch it. And you do have your real-time clock in here if you are one of those Pokemon people. So that's all built right into there. Obviously, you still have your recents and your favorites. Not a lot changed under settings, but with the newest update, we do have a brighter setting. So as you can see, I'm running at 5. It does get very dim, which is nice. Now you can play this in bed, so that is pretty cool. And then you do obviously have your calibration testing and stuff. But other than that, you just see your basic stuff in here. Somehow I ended up with some weird hippo theme. I'd stick around for that. I would stick away from that. It's a hub theme, so to speak. And once it got on here, I actually had to reinstall Spruce because it took over my themes and I couldn't change it. And it was some scantily clad ladies. Maybe want to stick away from that one. But yeah, everything is already set up for you, your CPU, everything. So just leave everything the way it is. And if it needs to change clock speeds for a specific emulator, it's going to do that on the back end. So You don't even need to worry about any of that stuff. I don't think there's anything under fixes. Oh yeah, the audio fix. So if your audio starts to glitch, it fixes itself. That is actually built into the factory OS build as well. So that's all I really got for you today. I just wanted to give you a quick rundown of Spruce OS. My capture card's not working, so I will make sure that I got some kind of directions for you on my website or direct you to directions. Spruce actually has a really good set of directions for this. It's almost like a PDF booklet I found in the Internet Archives. It might be worth just going through that booklet. I will also have down on my thingamabob, obviously, links to Spruce. If you don't have a Miyoo A30 and you want to pick one up, I'll throw a link down there for that as well. I will put down the zipping tools and things like that you would need also to change the operating system. This has panned out to be exactly what we thought the A30 was going to be when it came out. This is what it should be. This should have been maybe just a little bit above the base of what it was. I recommend a lot of firmwares, but I don't recommend like you need to do this kind of thing very often, and I would highly recommend doing this if you want the best experience right now. Now, there may be something else down the pipe. There's a lot of different firmwares. We may even still see something from Onion, but right now, that's the route that I would go. I do appreciate you guys sticking around this long. Try to make this as quick and short as possible today because it is Shark Week. It just kicked off, so I am filming this on Sunday. You guys are going to see this on Monday. I take this week off every year, so you may or may not see another video this week. I do have a pile of stuff, though, that's come in here in the last couple weeks while I've been busy and haven't been able to shoot, so I'd like to get some of those videos out. So I do have a few that I'm working on editing right now, and I might be able to just edit those while I'm watching my favorite fish swim around. If you have any questions about Spruce OS or anything else that we talked about here today, or didn't talk about and just want to, have a conversation, leave it down there in my comment section, please. I love talking to you guys. Also, don't forget to rate this video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed what you saw here. And if you're unsure, there's going to be a couple of videos popping up here on the end of this video that YouTube's going to recommend for you. And take a look at one of those, and maybe after that one you'll want to subscribe because you'll realize that this is some content that you want to be part of. And on top of that, don't forget to share this with your friends because sharing helps grow the channel, and you guys do a great job helping this channel grow. So thank you very much. That's all I got for today. I'm out. Bye-bye!